The topic of this presentation is the women of Westport House. Content of this presentation will include an introduction, an overview of the three ladies' lives, and a conclusion. The aim of this research project was to investigate the lives of the women in the Brown family, their contribution, if any, to Westport House, and the time period will span from the late 18th century to the early 20th century. The three case studies include Lady Louisa Catherine Howe, 1st Marchioness of Sligo, Lady Hester Catherine de Burgh, 2nd Marchioness of Sligo, and Lady Catherine Henrietta Dickon, 5th Marchioness of Sligo. And if you look to the right of the screen, you will see the Brown family's crest. Lady Louisa Catherine Howe. Her family history includes two connections to the royal family. Her father, Earl Richard Howe, was the grandson of the first King George. Her eldest sister, Sophia Howe, was the great-great-great-great-grandmother of Princess Diana of Wales. She married John Dennis Brown in the late 18th century, and they had one son together who they adored, Howe Peter Brown. He grew up among the royals. She brought an abundance of wealth to Westport House after the death of her father. She, along with her husband, commissioned the famous architect James Wyatt to design and decorate the expansion of Westport House. Her husband, John Dennis, named the small town of Louisburg after his wife Louisa and his future daughter-in-law Catherine de Burgh. After the death of her first husband, she was the full manager of Westport House and the estate. Her son spent numerous amount of time abroad on expeditions, and he was then later charged with bribing two naval officers to abandon their post during the Napoleonic Wars. The judge on the trial was Sir William Scott, and on the day of her son's release from jail, she married the judge. She, along with her husband, passed away in Amsterdam in 1837. Lady Hester Catherine de Burgh. She married Howe Peter Brown in 1800. They had 14 children together, and she was the first Marchioness of Irish descent, as she was from County Galway. Hester and Howe Peter laid out many specimen trees around the grounds of Westport House, and they are responsible for the design of the gardens in the house today. There are many Italian influences in the house today, as Hester and Howe spent a lot of time in Italy during their continental tours. She also preserved James Wyatt's architecture in the large dining hall, as his son, Benjamin Wyatt, was finishing his father's work in the house, although in Hester's opinion destroying it, and she later fired him. Her philanthropy work included the abolishment of slavery in Jamaica alongside her husband, the benevolence she showed during the famine. She fed the hungry and she clothed the poor. And she was a devoted patron to many charities throughout her life, and known as somewhat of a celebrity in her day. Lady Catherine Henrietta Dickon. She was born in India during the British Raj, and she was known as a true Victorian. She married Henry Hewlett Brown. She was 66 years old before she became the 5th Marchioness of Sligo, and she, along with her husband Henry, inherited Westport House and the estate. They celebrated their golden wedding anniversary in the house. They had a big party along with their 10 children, and they even invited the servants to partake in the festivities. And she was known as the quirkiest member of the Brown family. She would often dress up in her finest outfits and do laps around the first floor. During her golden years, she wrote her memoirs of growing up in the British Raj in India, which included finding cobras in her room, battling off wolves, and coming into contact with tigers. She had a deep respect for her servants and was fondly remembered by the staff of Westport House after her death. She even left some belongings and money to some of her own personal servants. Key findings of this investigation include Louisa Catherine's connection to royalty, Hester Catherine de Burgh's letters, which include her experience during the famine and her benevolence, and Catherine Henrietta Dickon's golden wedding anniversary party in which she celebrated with her servants. From royalty to slavery to famine to the British Raj, the women of Westport House led colourful lives in Westport and all around the world. Thank you.